Good evening and Happy New Year to you who've joined us for the amazing compilation of information from Matthew Fox on the Christian mystics. So we had an interruption there with Advent, but now we pick up where we left off, and this is part 29. And this evening we're going to look at the wise sayings from another great Englishman, a mystic, Bede Griffiths. For those who don't know about Bede Griffiths, let me share with you a synopsis of this truly amazing man. Bede Griffiths lived from 1906 to 1993. He was an English Benedictine monk, and Bede Griffiths chose to be a missionary in India, where he lived for over 50 years. The ashram where he stayed, Shantivananam, blended Christian and Hindu ways. He wrote many books, including The Golden String, Return to the Center, The Marriage of East and West, and The Cosmic Revelation. Bede Griffiths is quoted in many New Age books today, and what a wise man. But interestingly, as Teresa of Avila said in her amazing book, Entering the Castle, we are all called to be mystics. We each have it in our power to be a mystic. We do. But not many choose to walk the solitary path of discipline, self-denial, prayer, abstinence, commitment. So many today want the easy option. We found that in our own community, where many come with great ideas, some have expectations, but the monastic life is more than having expectations. It's about listening to your heart. All mystics listen to their heart. Their heart is their teacher. And as a great teacher, it is the gateway to your soul, your higher self, your gateway to nirvana, to God. So let us share with you now some of the beautiful sayings of the late Bede Griffiths. He says, sexuality is part of our inheritance from the animals, and in human nature there is an instinctive urge to transcend the physical level of sexuality and realize it at a deeper psychological and spiritual level. Ultimately, sexuality is the energy of love in human nature, and this can never be satisfied as either the physical or the psychological level, but always seeks fulfillment in the depths of the spirit, where it encounters the source of love. How poetic, how beautiful is that? But what does Matthew Fox say about that? He says, Benedictine monk Bede Griffiths understands sexuality as our search for love and depth of spirit. It is ultimately the energy of love in human nature. Do you see sexuality this way? What follows from this understanding of sexuality? A valid question. Can you answer it? And Bede goes on to say, in a sense, the whole creation can be seen as a marriage between matter and mind, nature and spirit. Prakriti and Purusha in Hindu terms, and every human marriage is a reflection of the cosmic union. In the biblical tradition, the people of Israel were seen as the bride of Yahweh, and the climax of Israel's history was to be the marriage of Israel, the people of God, with its God. And Matthew says, Bede Griffiths celebrates the marriage between matter and mind, nature and spirit, and how every human marriage is a reflection of the cosmic union. Sacred metaphors abound about such marriages, including that of God to human beings. Do you celebrate these marriages? How do you do so? Does our culture celebrate them? What do we gain by publicly recognizing them? And what holds us back? And Bede Griffiths goes on to say, at Pentecost, the disciples were filled with the Holy Spirit. They underwent a radical transformation. Something happened which transformed them from a group of weak and spiritless men into a community of believers who set out to change the world. This something was a mystical experience. It was a breakthrough beyond time and change, beyond the agony of suffering and death which they had experienced in the crucifixion, into the world of absolute reality, which was summed up for the Hebrew in the name of God. They experienced God. They realized Brahman. As a Hindu would say, they knew the self, the spirit, the eternal truth, dwelling in the heart. That is so poetic and beautiful, isn't it? They knew the self, the spirit, the eternal truth, dwelling in the heart. You've heard me quote it many times. The heart is your greatest teacher. And there you have the answer. Because in the heart is the indwelling of God. But Matthew says, Bede Griffiths calls Pentecost a transformational happening, the something that transformed the disciples from being weak to being courageous was in fact a mystical experience. This underscores how important and how practical mystical experiences are. A mystical experience of God, a breakthrough beyond time and change, inspires change in the world that matters. Do mystical experiences still occur today? Have you ever felt radically transformed so that you moved beyond your fear and were emboldened by a timeless courage? I can't answer that for you. I can only answer for myself. I live in hope. And though each day is a struggle, but it's a struggle born out of love. Bede Griffiths says all the Christian churches, Eastern and Western, have to turn to the religions of the East, to Hinduism, Buddhism, Theism, and the subtle blend of all these in Oriental culture and to the deep intuitions of tribal religions in Africa and elsewhere, if they are to recover their balance and evolve an authentic form of religion which will answer to the needs of the modern world. And that's coming from a Benedictine monk, a Catholic Christian monk, advocating that we embrace the religions of the East. That is profound. But Matthew says, for Bede Griffiths, deep ecumenism is not about making nice with other religions. It is about recovering a balance and evolving an authentic form of religion that will address today's needs. Eastern and indigenous religions, he feels, have so much to teach about balance and healthy forms of religion. What do you know about religions other than your own? What speaks to you from them? Well, as a member of the Teo community, we are interspiritual. In other words, we embrace all faiths, not in the dogmatic sense, but in a loving, hands-on sense, where we embrace the divine in each other and let God's Spirit do the rest. Bede goes on to say, we have to go beyond all these historical structures and recover the original myth of Christianity, the living truth which was revealed in the New Testament. But this cannot be done by Western mind alone. We have to open ourselves to the revelation of the divine mystery which took place in Asia, in Hinduism and Buddhism, in Taoism, in Confucianism and Shintoism. Nor can we neglect the intuitive wisdom of more primitive people, the Australian Aborigines, the Polynesian Islanders, the African Bushmen, the American Indians and Eskimos. All over the world, the Supreme Spirit has left signs of his presence. The Christian mystery is the mystery of God's presence in man, and we cannot neglect any sign of that presence. What is that saying to you? To me, it's saying that we are all one, be we indigenous or conventional Christians. No one should have the monopoly, for we are all children of God. And Matthew Fox says, here Griffiths expands more specifically on the scope of deep ecumenism, which includes all the religions of the East and all the indigenous religions of the world. Do you agree that all over the world, the Supreme Spirit has left signs of his presence? Do you agree with Griffiths that God's presence in man can be found everywhere, including in the Christian mystery? I would love to know your thoughts. Please feel free to share your thoughts in the chat room, rather than me spouting what Matthew and Bede are saying. Please share. Let it be a two-way conversation. Bede says, intuition cannot be produced. It has to be allowed to happen. But that is just what the rational mind cannot endure. It wants to control everything. It is not prepared to be silent, to be still, to allow things to happen. Of course, there is a passivity of inertia, but this is an active passivity. It is what the Chinese call Wu Wei, action in inaction. It is a state of receptivity. But Matthew says Bede Griffiths speaks out about the power of stillness and of allowing things to happen. This way is an offense to the rational mind. It is a state of receptivity. The via negativa teaches us these matters. There we learn letting go and letting be. Do you find it easy to let go? Do you find it easy to let things be? Or do you, like me, struggle at times? In my humanity, yes, I struggle. But sometimes at the end of a long day, a tiring day, I guess I realize the course of action is to release the struggle to God and let God be in the struggle. Another lovely quote from Bede: there is an activity of the mind which is grasping, achieving, dominating, but there is also an activity which is receptive, attentive, open to others. This is what we have to learn. The classical expression of this intuitive wisdom is to be found in the Tao Te Ching, which speaks of the spirit of the valley and the mystic female. Now that's new to me. How wonderful is that? Which speaks of the spirit of the valley and the mystic female. Matthew says Bede Griffiths believes that the East is better at the via negativa, which allows things to be themselves, than is the hyperactive West. This intuitive wisdom has a feminine dimension to it. Griffiths is addressing patriarchy's failures. Do you sense a correctness in what he is proposing? And as dear Miriam says, who's joined us from New Zealand, welcome dear Miriam, the deep and mystical wisdom from Father Bede so speaks to my soul. His oneness spirit so speaks to the world today. Wow, that is so lovely. Thank you for that, Miriam. That is really, really lovely. And it resonates too with my heart. Bede says to return to the root is repose. These are the principles which underlie the wisdom of the East, which the West has to discover and which China and the East have to recover if the world is to find its balance. Now, but Matthew says, in modern times, says Bede Griffiths, we are out of balance because we have lost the healthy path of repose that leads to the root. The East used to excel at repose, but today the East too is losing its balance. This imbalance is as true of China and other Asian nations as it is of Europe and America. Activism is a disease of modern peoples. Do you sense this same imbalance in yourself? I do. In your culture? Definitely I do. And what are you doing to find balance again? Now that's a good question to put to you who've joined me. I'd be interested to know your thoughts on that. What are you doing to find balance again? Well, Bede says, the limitations of Western science and democracy have become more and more evident. The disastrous effects of Western industrialization and industrialism, physical, social, and psychological, polluting the world and threatening to destroy it, are only too evident. But this is not an accident due to the misuse of science and technology. It is due to a fundamental defect in Western man. The balance can only be restored when a meeting takes place between the East and the West. This meeting must take place at the deepest level of the human consciousness. It is an encounter ultimately between the two fundamental dimensions of human nature, the male and the female, the masculine, rational, active, dominating power of the mind, and the feminine, intuitive, passive, and receptive power. And Matthew Fox says, Bede Griffiths lays the cause of the world's current ecological collapse very much at the feet of the one-sided consciousness of Western man, and our failure to incorporate feminine consciousness into our awareness. This fundamental defect is the first thing to fix to restore a much-needed balance. Do you agree that consciousness is more important than technology? Does it change your way of seeing the world and of finding new ways of working for ecological sustainability? And Sister Sue says, spend time with the divine to regain balance. I do like that. Thank you, Sue. And Miriam says, St. Benedict says, always we return again. I love the profoundness of these words that call us back over and over to the heart when streams flow elsewhere so often. Yeah. We are each being called back by Spirit. And in this year, as was evident yesterday at our ceremony, when we welcomed dear Sister Elaine into the community, a totally different, radical ceremony, more informal, more intuitive, and it was directed and guided by what the Beloved said to her heart than what our Constitution dictates. It looked at balance. It looked at embracing the masculine and the feminine. Rather beautiful. And that was reflected in the prayer of dedication of her 7 promises. Not vows, promises. The vows will be taken at the end of her 3-year trial period as a junior monastic. But here, an ordinary, beautiful human being encompasses and embraces the masculine and the feminine. And one of our groups shared with us, that was Ron from Liverpool, that this year, 2015, if you add the numbers, it totals 8. a very significant year, and we must look for the number 8 this year, because things of a profound nature will occur that will have an impact on the whole of mankind, because Spirit is touching the hearts of each one of us to embrace the masculine, if we're male, the feminine side of our being, and to women to embrace their masculine side, so that there's balance, harmony, that will facilitate divine connectedness. Let us just finish there and resume that tomorrow evening. And for now, let us just be still. And coincidentally, tonight is the eve of Epiphany. Epiphany meaning the 3 wise men from the east who came to visit the Christ child, bringing gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I ask you, what gifts would you like to bring the Christ today? What gifts are you inspired to share with the Christ, with the beloved? Let us reflect on that. And in our short meditation, I want to bring you here to our crib in our little monastery. It is rather beautiful. It's right near the front door, with a myriad of plants and greenery from the woodland. And there you see the straw and the animals, the sheep, the ox and the ass, with birds and bunny rabbits and a little fox. Yes, and a cat. And there you see Mary with Joseph, and you see the baby Jesus with 3 shepherds and a minstrel man playing his flute, with angels ascending and descending. And now we have the 3 wise men who come from the east. Just join them. Just visualize now, if you would, not the stable, because we believe that they came to a house, and there is Joseph with Mary and the little boy Jesus, and the wise men come, and you're with them, and they bring an entourage of servants, for they are very well known and wealthy men in their own right. They're astrologers. They read the stars. They predict for kings and queens. And you are with them. And you see each one of them coming into the presence of the God-child. Look at the adoration in their face. Look at their body language, the reverence. These wise men, intelligent, articulate, sensible, heart-centered, intuitive men, see how they come before the King of Kings. And each one presents a priceless gift to symbolize an aspect of the Christ's life. And they lay their gifts by Mary and Joseph. And now it's your turn. You come before the Christ child, and he looks at you, and you look at him, and no words are spoken. But he looks at you with an intent gaze, as if he's map reading you, as if he's trying to speak to your heart telepathically. Are you receptive? Are you listening? Or have you blocked him out? He reaches out his hand as he sat on his mother's knee. His little hand reaches out to touch your hand. Visualize that. The gift of touch. How symbolic is that? And as you reach your hand for the Christ child to touch yours, you're overwhelmed. You're overwhelmed by the goodness and graciousness of this child. You look at his mother and you see the reverence that she has for you as you kneel before her son, and he speaks to you. He speaks to your heart, a language of love, the language of silence, the language of the divine. And in the silence of this interaction, when the Christ child has placed his little hand in your big hand, and you clasp his little fingers, and he's speaking to your soul, what is he saying to you? Well, he's saying to me, will you follow me? Or will you also walk away like so many have done, caught up with airs and graces? Will you follow me? Will you follow me in the desert where there is no lushness in water, where you will thirst? Will you follow me in the crowds when I'm rejected and stoned? Will you follow me to the Mount of the Beatitudes, when you will see the face of God? On the Mount of Transfiguration, will you follow me along the Via Dolorosa to Golgotha? Will you follow me as they nail me to that cross out of love for you? Will you be there for me? Will you love me? Or will you walk away? Only you can answer. Be still and allow the love of this child touch you in a profound way as you present your gifts, the gift of your heart, your teacher, the gift of your life, the gifts of your mind, your body and spirit. Are you willing to surrender as you are a beloved child of God? Or are you holding back? Or do you need more proof? Are you procrastinating? He awaits your answer. And he will wait and wait. Till you're old and gray, he will wait. And he will wait patiently and never give up on you. because you are a child of God, a beloved. And that's why he's here, holding your hand with 3 wise men. And now it's time to go. And as you take your leave, Joseph and Mary thank you for coming. And the 3 wise men form a circle around you. And you can hear them singing the praises of Yahweh in their native tongue. And they hug you and say goodbye. But Melchior turns round and said, we will meet again on the day of resurrection, when we will all be one again, and we will live an eternal epiphany. Relax now. Happy feast day. For this is Christmas Day in the Greek Orthodox Church, and we wish our Greek brothers and sisters a blessed Christmas. And in our Celtic islands, this is Little Christmas Day in Ireland, and we wish them a happy feast. Namaste. Shalom inshallah. Pax et bonum om shanti. Solo di caritas. Salam alaikum. And may the peace of Bede Griffiths and all the great mystics switch you on to what you already know in your heart, that you too are called, like Bede Griffiths, to be a mystic. Oh yes. Till tomorrow. God bless you.